Coming up in today's newscast, the United States officially shutters the PLO's offices in Washington. The world celebrates the Jewish New Year of Rosh Hashana, and Israel selects its official foreign film entry for next year's Academy Awards. After freezing all funding to the United Nations Palestinian Refugee Agency, the Trump administration has just announced another bombshell change in its Middle East policy. The White House has officially closed the PLO's offices in Washington, D.C., accusing the Palestinians of ceasing to pursue a meaningful peace with Israel. Staffers in the D.C. office have been given notice that they have 1 month to leave the premises, effective immediately. This is the latest and possibly most severe move by Team Trump with reference to the Palestinians as of late. Israeli leaders, including Prime Minister Netanyahu, have largely hailed these efforts, though. After learning that the PLO's office was being closed for good, Netanyahu issued the statement, quote, "The United States made the correct decision regarding the PLO mission in Washington. Israel supports American actions that are designed to make it clear to the Palestinians that refusing to negotiate and attempts to attack Israel in international forums will not advance peace," end quote. This decision also comes just a few days after the Trump administration cut some $25 million in aid monies that was being used to fund Palestinian hospitals in East Jerusalem. For Palestinian leaders, the writing is on the wall. Most have unanimously declared the United States an enemy of the Palestinian people, a war chant that first started last year with Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Following that decision, the Palestinians largely withdrew from negotiations with the United States. The White House retaliated with a series of budget cuts that ultimately led to the total freezing of all funds to the UNRWA and the news that Trump's team was seeking an end to the Palestinians' unique status as a refugee people.
But how can anyone in their sane mind, with all these American decisions, Trump's decisions, believe that these people can be honest brokers, facilitators, arbitrators in any peace process? They are no longer partners in the peace process.
Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas is reportedly considering severing all ties, including pivotal security communications with the United States, following the closure of the PLO's offices. For now, it remains to be seen whether these tactics will ultimately force the Palestinians back to the negotiating table or not. Palestinian leaders have just officially filed a claim of war crimes against Israel at the International Criminal Court, known as the ICC. This is ostensibly the highest-level court system in the world, tasked with investigating potential war crimes committed by foreign governments. In this case, the Palestinians are urging the ICC to investigate Israel's plan to demolish a Bedouin village in the West Bank, one which the state claims was illegally built. The village in question, Khan al-Ahmar, was officially greenlit for demolition earlier this month following the High Court's go-ahead. This particular village has been mired in legal red tape for years now, with both sides bitterly fighting in court. The 173 Bedouin who lived in the village are said to originally be from a Negev village in southern Israel. The State of Israel relocated them to the Palestinian West Bank sometime in the 1950s, where the families have remained ever since. Several years ago, the residents began erecting makeshift tents to live in, and Israeli officials say these structures were built illegally without Israeli permission or permits. But the residents argue that they had no other option and nowhere else to go, considering the state originally evicted them in the first place with no resettlement option.
هم بدعوا انهم بدهم يحسنوا الحاله المعيشيه لهالسكان التجمع، ولكن عندما ذهبنا الى اول تجمع اللي هو في منطقه شرقي العزريه هو موجود على محل قمامه لا يصلح للعيش البشري.
Israel has received considerable pressure to reverse the demolition order following the High Court's decision earlier this month, and the chief negotiator to the Palestinians, Saeb Erekat, says that such a demolition constitutes war crimes, a matter that will now be left to the ICC over whether or not to investigate. United States National Security Advisor John Bolton has threatened the ICC not to attack America's allies on the global stage. Bolton has slammed the courts for being ineffective, unaccountable, and indeed outright dangerous in the past.
Today, on the eve of September the 11th, I want to deliver a clear and unambiguous message on behalf of the President of the United States. The United States will use any means necessary to protect our citizens and those of our allies from unjust prosecution by this illegitimate court. We will not cooperate with the ICC. We will provide no assistance to the ICC, and we certainly will not join the ICC. we will let the ICC die on its own. After all, for all intents and purposes, the ICC is already dead to us.
Returning now to the studio with more on the war crimes charges now being brought up at the ICC at The Hague is legal advisor to the Israeli Movement for Governability and Democracy, or Meshilut, attorney Simcha Rotman. Thank you so much for coming back in.
Hi.
All right, so my first question to you, the big one, what war crimes have been committed?
It's a great question, and actually that what's behind what we saw here, the speech from
Saeb Erekat.
from Bolton.
From Bolton, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
John
So basically, he says anything can be defined as a crime of aggression. Anything can be defined as crimes against humanity. Anything can be defined as war crimes. Therefore, the ICC can prosecute whatever. Now we're talking about.
Well, but that's not necessily true, is it? I mean, there are objective things that qualify as war crimes.
Yeah, but the ICC, we see the Palestinian Authority filed a complaint in Israel on building permits, building without building permits, demolishing houses built without building permits in Area C, and the Palestinian Authority thinks that it goes to the ICC. So we are talking about very, very broad spectrum, very, very vague interpretation, and zero accountability. They can do whatever they want, and they can prosecute whoever they want, and that's why the United States, speaking the way loud and clear as we heard, and that's why Israel is not part of the ICC. It's more of a political, bringing the politics of international relations to the ICC. It's not anything, it had nothing to do with law or crime in the way we know what we talk about.
So if this is such a nothing, empty case, what evidence is the PA likely to bring up at The Hague?
Again, if you're talking about a crime of aggression, which is the most vague and most clause in the ICC charter, anything, building a new settlement is a crime of aggression. Demolishing houses is a crime of aggression. Everything can be defined as crime of aggression. Not terrorism, by the way, because terrorism is not defined something the ICC deals with. It's politicized court. Has nothing to do with law. It has nothing to do with justice, and it has nothing to do with crimes in the way we use in our terms. I agree that if you have a country that goes and kill innocent people, and you need to have some way, but the world judged these kind of crimes way before the ICC. We know it happened in other places with special tribunals in very, very harsh cases. The ICC is a way to put other countries under the international regime by this court and make Israel and the US and other countries not able to defend their own borders, their own policies, and apply normal methods of law enforcement.
All right, well, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there. Simcha Rotman, thank you very much for coming back in and sharing your thoughts on us.
Thank you very much.
All right, now shocking news just now. 2 American women have just accused David Keyes, who serves as the personal spokesperson for Prime Minister Netanyahu, of sexually assaulting them. Keyes has fiercely denied these allegations, and he's also pointed out that the testimony of one woman, New York Senate candidate Julia Salazar, shouldn't be trusted, considering that she has lied about her credentials in the past. Salazar, who is mere days away from the state Senate election, shared her account of the allegations on social media. She writes that, quote, "I've been informed that a story is about to run which identifies me as a victim of sexual assault. Before this runs, I want to come forward and confirm that I was a victim of sexual assault by David Keyes, the Prime Minister of Israel's spokesperson to foreign media," end quote. Media sources now claim that Salazar originally submitted a sexual assault complaint against Keyes anonymously in 2016 over an incident that allegedly took place in 2013 before his appointment as Netanyahu's spokesman. But Keyes has already denounced Salazar's accusations, citing her past history of unsubstantiated or misleading claims. Salazar recently claimed on the campaign trail that she was brought up as Jewish, only to have her own brother refute the claim, saying, quote, "Nobody in our immediate family," end quote, was Jewish. She also campaigned on the basis that she was an immigrant from Colombia, a statement which was later revealed to be untrue. According to Keyes, these false statements are reason enough to doubt Salazar's reliability. But it should be noted that Salazar did share her story privately with friends as early as 2016. And now, mere hours after Salazar came forward, a second woman has claimed that she too was sexually assaulted by Keyes. This second allegation comes from Shandy Race, a writer for the Wall Street Journal. Race wrote on Twitter, quote, "I also had a terrible encounter with David Keyes once and 100% believe Salazar. The man had absolutely no conception of the word no. No matter how often I said no, he wouldn't stop pushing himself on me." Needless to say, these are very extreme allegations, especially given the massive movement of women and men combating sexual assault in the age of Me Too. But for now, it remains to be seen whether any formal charges will be filed against Keyes, or even whether the Prime Minister's office will look into these allegations internally. Once in a while, Israelis make global headlines for accidentally flying through airport security with leftover bullets in their luggage. After all, most Israelis are former IDF soldiers, which typically explains why a stray bullet or two ended up in their old bags. But this latest incident at New Jersey's Newark Airport might really take the cake. ILTV's Brett Allen Smith is here with more. Now, Brett, exactly what happened?
Okay, so if I had to describe in just a few words what happened, I'd say it's somewhere between a mass panic and a very, very bad joke. Okay, so the story goes like this. Okay, so a 50-year-old Israeli man, he's now been identified as Elon Feldman, was apparently flying from Tel Aviv to Panama City, Florida with a connection Newark, like you said. So, like the rest of us, he had to recheck his baggage through security once he arrived in Newark for that domestic connection to Florida. But when his bags passed through security, pretty much the entire airport ground to a halt, because right there in his carry-on luggage in the X-ray was what appeared to be a fully armed and fully functional bomb. And needless to say, TSA security immediately jumped into action. Elon was detained and questioned by police, and practically the entire airport was shut down while bomb sappers checked it, only to finally find out that it was totally fake. It was a fake bomb.
Completely fake?
Yes.
But realistic looking enough to seem entirely real?
Correct.
All right, so, this begs the question. Why was this guy traveling with a fake bomb? Why did he try to pass it through security so nonchalantly? How did he even get to Newark?
Sure, well, I can certainly only speak to his account of the story anyway and what the police say. So Feldman later claimed that he was on his way to his security training conference in Panama City. So in fact, he was specifically traveling to a bomb detection training conference, which may at least partially explain why he had a simulation bomb, as it turned out, in his bag. As to why he tried to pass through TSA security with zero heads up, I honestly can't tell you that. And as absurd as this kind of thing is, the TSA is not laughing. In fact, Feldman's been slapped with criminal charges for this, and he may face another slew of fines and even more charges. Even if the device was fake, it was designed to resemble the real thing, which spurs all the necessary terror-related security measures. I mean, that costs the agency money, the airline money, the airport money. That causes massive delays on the runway. I think 300 people were displaced from their flights.
Sure.
And that's why he's been charged with creating a false public alarm and interfering with transportation. Those are the official charges. So obviously that's nothing to laugh about right there.
No, I mean, definitely not. I mean, especially since he apparently didn't alert the TSA to what he was doing before he did it. Officials say that at the very least, Feldman should have known better than to bring a realistic-looking simulation bomb through an active checkpoint in the middle of the day. I'm sure that gave people quite a scare, and so, charges are understandable. Anyway, thanks for the report, Brett.
Sure.
All right, well, as you probably know, Jews all over the world just celebrated Rosh Hashana, otherwise known as the Jewish New Year. As the Hebrew calendar rolls over to the year 5779, the total number of Jews worldwide has also risen since last year. The Hebrew University says that there are now nearly 14.7 million Jews living all over the world, with the majority living right here in the state of Israel. It probably comes as no surprise that Israel is the single largest home to Jews anywhere in the world. But here's a surprising statistic. There are actually more Jews living outside of Israel in the diaspora than those living inside. About 1.5 million more, in fact. 6.6 million Jews currently live in Israel, with 8.1 million Jews living outside of Israel, 5.7 million of whom live in the United States. Well, no matter where they live, millions of Jewish families were gathering Sunday night to celebrate the Jewish New Year with some apples and honey. Even the United Nations celebrated the festivity by recreating the ritual throwing of sins into the river, which in this case was New York's East River. Israel's ambassador to the UN, Dani Danon, led the ceremony, which would be followed by the Cheshbon HaNefesh ritual of soul-searching. Dozens of ambassadors, including UN Chief Antonio Guterres, were there to take part. The joy of Rosh Hashana culminates next week with the Hebrew Yom Kippur holiday, one of the most solemn of the Jewish year, a day of reflecting and asking for atonement for our sins. From all of us at ILTV, we hope the new year is a sweet one for each and every one of you. Israeli formats have been selling like crazy in major foreign markets for the past decade or so, and adaptations of Israeli series have been booming with shows like Homeland, Traffic Light, and In Treatment. Well, a new American adaptation of another Israeli show is now on its way, and ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh is here with all of the details. Emmanuel.
like you said, it really has become a thing for successful Israeli TV shows and in this industry to be adapted, you know, to America and all different countries. Also shows like Fauda, which are actually in Hebrew, but just different subtitles like for any random language, which is amazing. I think it's just a testament to how successful the TV industry is working here in Israel. And just another show is being adapted by HBO. It's called Euphoria. It's about kind of like the teenage lifestyle and how teenagers kind of go about their lives.
I definitely remember my teenage years as euphoric.
Yeah, right. Okay, so obviously I'm assuming there's a play on words. You can see kind of the trailer here. Sure. This is the Israeli version. It's supposed to be a 10-episode series, and the producer is Canadian rapper Drake. I'm sure you've heard of him once or twice. Once or twice. Drake actually used to be an actor on a very similar type show. It's called Degrassi. Shocked that you've never seen the show.
No, I've never seen it.
In early 2000s, it was kind of also like a high school type show, talking about their life, what they had to deal with, all different types of very dramatic situations, and that's pretty much kind of how you would describe this show. They say it's sexy, troubling, and a bold profile of the teenagers in the 90s. So it's going to be a very interesting show. I'm actually excited to see it.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so this is... So we're taking like another teen look at this.
Right.
I mean, it reminds me of Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah, you can kind of compare
it. Concept,
yes,
anyway.
exactly. There's no release date so far. It's like I said, supposed to be 10 episodes. The original show was created by Ron Lemish and Daphna Livin, who are also going to be executive producers on this show. So it's going to be a great take. Yeah. So the Israelis are also, they have a say in the show.
They didn't just kind of sell it and give it up.
Exactly.
They're going to be involved in it.
They're going to be involved. Drake is going to be involved. There's going to be a few well-known actors that are going to be on it. If you know Zendaya, the 22-year-old actress from Spider-Man, and Eric Dane from Grey's Anatomy.
Wow.
Very big stars.
Big cast.
So I'm going to be I'm very excited to see what the show is going to look like, how they're going to take the Israeli version and kind of adapt it to an American lifestyle and see kind of like the similarities. Maybe Drake will put in a little bit of Degrassi.
Maybe there's not that much different.
Maybe not. I guess we're excited to take a look at it.
So, okay, one more time. When is this supposed to air?
There's no release date yet. We do know that Drake himself is just producing it. He's not going to be on screen, and I'm excited to see what it's gonna look like.
All right, well, me too. Euphoria.
Yeah,
sounds
Euphoria.
amazing.
Yep, on HBO.
Emmanuel, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, now we're still a few years away from the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo, but at least one Israeli athlete already has her eyes on the prize. Israeli gymnast Linoy Ashram has just snagged a silver medal at the Rhythmic Gymnastics World Championships in Sofia, a win that puts her one step closer to an official Olympic gold in 2020. In a relatively short time, Ashram has quickly become one of Israel's most prestigious athletes, and the young gymnast actually entered history books just last month when she broke the world record in the women's club events. This took place at the European Championships, where Ashram also became the first athlete in the game's history to win 2 gold medals in a single season. Needless to say, that impressive feat has carried over into the latest medal win. Though Ashram just barely lost out on medaling in the ball event, she just claimed a silver for her work with the hoop. Her final score was a clean 20.000, which placed her just below Russia's gold medal winner, who finished narrowly ahead with a score of 20.850. But today and tomorrow we'll see Ashram compete in arguably her best gymnastic event, the clubs. So with a slew of medals already under her belt, Olympic analysts see Ashram as Israel's first real surefire bet to possibly claim a coveted bronze, silver, or even gold at the upcoming 2020 Games in Tokyo. But no pressure, Ashram, we're all rooting for you. A common obstacle that sits in the way of running a business is simply making sure that you're in compliance with policies that seem to change daily. That and keeping your work private. So what if there was a single program that could do these things for you, that could keep your network safe, up to date, and in compliance with relevant regulations? I know I'd be interested. Well, Israeli program Promisec is such a product, and here to tell us all about it is Chai Hazama, the CEO of Promimer. So, Chai, thank you so much for being in here.
Thank you for inviting us.
And, tell me about Promisec. What does it do? How does it work?
So Promisec is a software, security software for enterprises. It's an agentless endpoint security, scanning remotely the endpoints and verifying that the endpoints are in compliance to the regulation that the organization needs to meet.
Okay, and that works in like any organization, any compliance regulations, any kind of industry?
Yeah, so first of all, it is aiming for any industry, any enterprise, starting from small, medium. Our largest installation has over 90,000 endpoints.
Wow.
In terms of regulation, we support out-of-the-box regulation for HIPAA, which is the healthcare, PCI for credit cards, SOX for the financial, and more regulations, and of course self-regulation that are determined by the chief compliance officer.
So okay, so when when a company, let's say a school, wants to integrate this information, how might Promisec help them? It'll help regulate with school guidelines, with rules that they set themselves, as well as maybe the state regulations and things like that, or maybe I'm thinking a little bit too locally.
Well, state regulations definitely apply here because there are state regulations for cybersecurity, and so they can protect themselves from potential cyber attacks. For example, the largest attacks in 2017, Petya and WannaCry, both could have been prevented had the organization applied our product. And also in 2018, one of the largest vulnerabilities that was discovered, Meltdown, which is a vulnerability in Intel processor, was already patched by Microsoft. Most of the organization did not apply this patch. We can verify that your organization is already in compliance with this.
That's amazing. All right, so where's Promisec being used? You mentioned already some massive companies are already using it. It's been in use for 14 years, I think you told me.
The company was established in 2004. We have acquired it earlier this year. Wow. It has over 900 customers worldwide in 40 different countries.
Incredible. And how do we get it if we want it?
So first of all, www.promisec.com. Log into the website, fill in the form. We'll get back to you.
All right, that's easy. That's as easy as it gets. Chai, this is incredible. It's an amazing idea, and thank you so much for telling us about it.
Thank you for your time.
All right, every year, the Israeli film community hosts its own kind of Academy Awards for its yearly Best of films, and the winner of Best Film goes on to be the country's official Oscar submission for the foreign film category at the American Academy Awards, which means that the stakes are pretty high. Well, this year was quite a year for Israeli cinema, and here are the winners of this year's Ophir Awards. Drum roll, please. Taking home the statue for Best Film, Best Director, Best Actress, Screenplay, Editing, and Sound is The Cake Maker. Written and directed by Ophir Raoul Greiser, The Cake Maker tells the story of a German cake maker who falls in love with an Israeli visiting from Jerusalem, and then moves to Jerusalem assuming a double life after his lover is tragically killed in a car crash. The film has already gained a slew of awards all over the world, and The Cake Maker will now be Israel's official entry to next year's Academy Awards in the foreign film category. Though a number of Israeli films have gone on to receive the nomination, so far Israel has yet to actually win in this category. But maybe this will finally be the big year. Now, the other big winner was Tal Granit and Sharon Maimon's explosive new film, Flawless. Flawless tells the story of 3 teenaged girls from Jerusalem who fly to Kiev seeking plastic surgery. As it turns out, though, one of the girls is hiding a secret that she's actually transgendered and is hoping to get reassignment surgery that she can't get in Israel. Israeli actress Stav Strashko didn't win the award for Best Actress, but she did make history as the first transgender person to ever be nominated by Israel's Academy for the award. Meanwhile, an Israeli-Palestinian actor may be headed towards Oscar glory in an altogether different way. Kais Nashif, who is of Palestinian and German descent but grew up in Tel Aviv, has just received the Best Actor award at the Venice Film Festival for his turn in Tel Aviv on Fire, a new comedy satire about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In the film, Nashif plays a Palestinian man who accidentally ends up as a staff writer on a hit Israeli soap opera. But art and politics collide when all sides disagree on how the series should end. It's quite rare for an actor to receive such a major award in a comedy role, which only makes us want to see Tel Aviv on Fire all the more. Hopefully all these incredible films will be headed your way to a movie theater near you very soon. And now for our Hebrew word of the day. An Israeli film about a cake maker is making major headlines at this year's film awards, so today's word is ofeh, or baker. In the film, the ofeh ugot, or cake maker, gets into hot water when uprooting his life and moving to Jerusalem. But here in Tel Aviv, there are many successful ofim, or bakers, too. We need an ofeh to make our challah bread, our pita, our cookies and cakes, and so much more. So if you're an ofeh, whether professional, part-time, or just a hobbyist, bless you and your delicious Midas touch. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight should be partly cloudy and warm with a low of 76 or 24 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow should be mostly clear and sunny with no change in temperatures. The high should be around 88 or 31 degrees Celsius. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.59 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Israel English News and on Twitter at ILTV News. I'm Aaron Porras. Thank you for watching.